Congressman Lance, my name's Randy Roberts and I live in Clinton Township.
As do I.
My question's about Syria.
Syria, yes, thank you.
For 6 years, Assad's regime has committed many war crimes against its own civilians in Syria. When President Obama asked Congress in 2013 to authorize an airstrike on Syria, you leaned strongly against it. You said it was the responsibility of the international community to address the issue and not a national security interest. In 2015, you co-sponsored 2 measures that aimed to halt the president's refugee resettlement plan of Syrian refugees fleeing from the horrific atrocities of their war-torn country. But now, in an April 7th statement, you commended Trump's airstrike against Assad, who was responsible for the death of thousands of innocent civilians, and the use of chemical weapons poses a threat to the U.S. national security interests. That's quoting you. Representative Lance, why do you now support Trump's airstrike when you opposed Obama's request in 2013?
Thank you for the question.
Will you now publicly oppose President Trump's ban against Syrian refugees, especially as no refugee has been implicated in a major U.S. terrorist attack since the Refugee Act of 1980?
In 2013, I think it was the sentiment of Congress. It was my sentiment, but I believe this was the sentiment of Congress in both houses, and I would say in a bipartisan way. Certainly there was significant sentiment to see whether or not diplomacy could work first before military action. And that was my opinion, and I believe it was the opinion of a majority in both houses of Congress, and I speculate here, but I think in both parties as well. And President Obama then, he suggested military action. He did not take the military action. There is a question constitutionally whether he could have done so without the approval of Congress. I think...
That's right!
Are you suggesting that he should have done that without the approval of Congress, and it was appropriate for Trump to not even seek the approval of Congress?
I'll be happy to answer your question in full. I'll be happy to answer your question in full. And I would imagine all presidents, President Obama, President Trump, and all other modern presidents, have believed that they have had this power unilaterally under their responsibilities as Commander-in-Chief. In any event, the President Obama, engaged in diplomatic action with the Syrians, and with others were involved. The Russians certainly were involved. And it was thought that the Assad regime had eliminated all of its chemical warfare, chemical weapons. And that was the position of the Obama administration. In fact, in July of 2014, Secretary of State Kerry claimed, we've got 100% of the chemical weapons out. And in May of 2015, President Obama said that Assad gave up his chemical weapons. That's not speculation on our part, that's a fact. It has been confirmed by the organization internationally that is charged with eliminating chemical weapons. And then this past January, several months ago, the National Security Advisor, Susan Rice, said, quote, we were able to get the Syrian government to voluntarily and verifiably give up its chemical weapons stockpile.
But the rebels didn't give theirs.
I wish that had been true. But of course it's turned out not to be true because of the chemical attack last week. And that is why, I presume, that the President took the action he did. What I hope will happen now is that the President will come to the Congress if he intends to engage in further military action in this regard.
And would you support that?
I would want to see how extensive the request. I'll be happy to answer the question. I would likely support airstrikes, but I don't favor boots on the ground. I don't think that we should put boots on the ground in Syria, but I might be willing to support further action in the air. I wish, ladies and gentlemen, that diplomacy had worked. I am sorry that it did not work, and I condemn in the strongest terms the actions of the Assad regime, and I hope that we can reach a point where no chemical weapons exist, because this is horrific action against the Syrian people.
I'm glad you agree that the Syrian people deserve better. I think they also deserve to be welcomed into our country.
Thank you. I'll be happy to answer that question as well. I was opposed to the first executive order. I thought it went too far. And on the second executive order, the time frame is of limited duration to make sure that we are airtight in those whom we permit to enter this country. And I think that now I believe you had stated that no refugees who had come into this country have committed terrorist acts.
Syrians!
From Syria. From Syria, that is accurate. There have, however, been those who have been admitted under the refugee program from Iraq who were apprehended in Bowling Green, Kentucky. I'm very pleased. I'm very pleased that the government intercepted the two persons in Bowling Green, Kentucky, who were
There is no Bowling Green. There's no top, but there were people that were there.
Who were in the process of sending funds back home, and the fingerprints of one of them was on a weapon, I believe, in Iraq. And I'm extremely pleased, ladies and gentlemen, extremely pleased that they were apprehended. Next question.